And good evening, everybody. It is Friday night here at RivalCast Media, and this is RCM On Tap, your 60-ish minute roundtable discussion show where tonight we have a very special guest. I, of course, am Jen McCafferty, the Baroness von Gosu. Joining me, as always, Mr. Killer McCoy. Filling in for Bio tonight, Varyar, our noble leader.
Heyo!
And joining us fourth chair, a very special guest. You've seen him playing StarCraft, you've seen him on the Evil Geniuses, you've seen him pretty much everywhere if you have anything to do with watching pro gamers over the last few years. iNcontrol! Hello, how are you?
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
So, I have to ask, this is my standard question for every person that comes onto my show for the very first time and I don't know the story already. I am always fascinated with how people pick their gamer handles. So, how did you get iNcontrol?
Well, it was a long time ago. I was like 13 or 14 years old, so that's 17 years ago now. I was joining a team called the In Clan for StarCraft Brood War, and their whole shtick was just in and then some word. So a lot of people didn't choose names that necessarily had IN at the beginning of it, and obviously mine is two different words. But that's just the route I went. I just liked iNcontrol. It's a cool phrase. There's other people that were like Incinerate, then there's somebody that was InQWERTY, in Agent 911, so all kind of variety there.
Interesting. I was trying to figure that out when I was prepping for the show. I was like, I have to ask him how that comes about, but...
Always weird where names come from.
Yeah.
One of the cool things about gamer handles, though, they tend to either say a lot about the person, or you just kind of make it your own, and then, I mean, honestly, that I wouldn't do this, but fanboying, I mean, the name iNcontrol, the name iNcontrol is known. I mean, I'm a strategy gamer. Fuck, if you're into strategy gaming, you know the Evil Geniuses, you know iNcontrol. I mean, it's cool, kind of that transition. I don't know. I'm a nerd. I think it's fascinating.
We're all nerds,
of course.
man.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why we're here, hanging out on a
Absolutely.
Friday night talking about video games and how we got into them.
Weird how I spend my time. And you people, too. God, get lives. Jesus.
Alienating our audiences. Thank you, Varyar.
You know what? I've been doing it for years.
You have. And they keep coming back for more. I don't know why.
They're gluttons. Gluttons for punishment. But I don't know. Jen, I assume you have a plan, but I kind of have a question, and I'm curious. Because, Jeff, you've been kind of... Again, you started obviously on the MLG track, and you were very well known there, and you got very good, obviously, at it. And then you kind of transitioned into team captain for Evil Geniuses while you made the switch over to streaming and everything. I gotta ask, how do you balance all that? Because it's a lot, I mean, you guys are under Good Game, which is under Twitch, and there's just a ton there, and you still stream a ton. I catch your streams. When we're not streaming on our channel, I'm generally lurking in yours, and it's just an impressive schedule.
I actually oftentimes myself ask the same question. Now that sounds kind of weird, but like, it's amazing what you can fit into a day. Because I really like Warhammer 40k, so that's kind of my hobby. I have my responsibilities around the house. I do have a wife. I've got other things that I'm doing too, so I make it work. But for me, I think a big part of it is I only need like 5 or 6 hours of sleep every night, 6 or 7 at the absolute most. So I go to sleep almost every night around midnight or 1 or so, and wake up at 7:30, 8, somewhere in that part. And that makes for a pretty long day. That's the like really boring scientific answer, but the other part of that is just like I don't stream. I'm not like one of those mad people that streams 15 hours a day. I stream mostly like 5 to 8 maybe a day, and then that leaves me another good 5 to 8 hours of doing something else.
Yeah.
Now, with that, with your responsibilities to EG and everything, I mean, is there a set time for that every day, or, I mean, I guess is it as stuff comes up? Do you guys have, I mean, I'm sure you have an internal schedule, obviously, but do you have office hours, I guess is what I'm asking? Or
Yeah, no, that's kind of the awesome, privileged position I'm in as a gamer at this stage. Like, right now, Evil Geniuses employs me to just basically be me. As long as I'm streaming with their stuff up there and representing the brand, going to events as an Evil Geniuses ambassador and kind of just, representing the company that way, I'm good to go. There definitely was a time when I was a full-time pro gamer that I had to set aside for, I think it was like 80 or 100 hours of streaming a month as well, on top of being the best StarCraft 2 player I could possibly be.
Right.
And that was to guarantee that exposure was getting out there. But now it's just all about the exposure, and it's all about being an ambassador. And if they ever need media and that kind of stuff, I do that. But for the most part, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I lead a very flowery, awesome life where I'm paid to be me.
So it's almost like a retired president of the United States.
It kind of feels like that in gaming. Yeah. I mean, like, I make a good living, and I'm well supported, and right now it's just to be me. But that's not gonna last. StarCraft 2 is on the decline in terms of viewership, so in order to get paid the way I do have to justify that through doing other things. And I think next year I'll transition into something a little bit more full-timey looking.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes that's economic. That's free market.
Yeah.
And they have to keep up.
Absolutely. But for now, the dream, right? I mean, it's kind of what you're rolling with. In terms of, kind of getting that exposure and stuff, I saw that you're doing the Blades with roleplay. Have you seen much of that? Because that's something, honestly, I hadn't heard of until I saw it on your Twitter one day. And then I was checking it out. It looks very, very cool. We actually do a D&D 5th edition show with our little group.
Just started.
And we just got that going, and it's a ton of fun. I've always been a video game nerd and a sci-fi fantasy nerd, but I had never really gotten into tabletop personally. And then, again, our group, RivalCast Media, we all went to Iowa together, and they kind of force-fed me tabletop games. And, I played Munchkin, and we played a little bit of D&D, and I had an absolute blast. It was like having a blind spot revealed. So as, obviously, a self-admitted tabletopper with Warhammer, can you tell us a little bit about Blades? Tell us a little bit what you're thinking, how it feels. Does it feel D&D? Because from looking at their page, it seems like they've streamlined a lot. True?
Yeah. We haven't started the show yet, so I can't really try and pretend to be an expert. But from what I can tell, it does seem to be a little bit more narrative-based, which Stars Without Number is another game system that we played on our other show, Swan Song, and I really enjoyed that. It's kind of funny. I'm on both ends of the spectrum. I really do like the mechanical aspect of 5th edition, or what I was playing before that with my original group of friends that got me into D&D, which is kind of 2.5, a little bit of a homebrew type D&D. I like, the randomness of dice. I like the, here's what I want to do, but let's see if it actually happens, and then kind of crafting the reality around that. Obviously, if everyone just kind of spoke their way through things, they would get overpowered and silly pretty quick, or, salty because the DM would just be like, no, that doesn't happen. It's like, well, I imagined it too. They're like, nah. So you need some dice, you need some law in a game. But it seems like Blade in the Dark, it's very atmospheric in the sense that it's kind of, not quite steampunky, but very much so like, he actually gave some Peaky Blinders is actually one of the reference points he said to watch that as kind of a culture idea behind like the style of it. And then otherwise it's very narrative but also mechanical. So a step away from D&D 5th edition in the sense that you do get a little bit more freedom with explaining yourself through things and having a little bit more gray area there. But at the end of the day, if you roll that 1 or you roll that 20, it's going to kind of decide what happens.
Kind of leads me into somewhat of a related question. Sorry, I'm all over the map here.
You're fine.
But continue, Varyar.
With, speaking of the dice and, letting them roll, this was one question I wanted to ask you. I was watching your stream earlier and we were talking a little before the show. You activated a real tough pod on your last mission of XCOM for today's afternoon stream. I understand you're going back tonight, and I look forward to watching it. But, you took a real tough loss there. Just the RNG kind of hit you hard a little bit. In terms of mechanics for a game, when you look at strategy games, it seems like there's kind of those two ways to go. There's the RNG on the hit, and then there's more the damage spread. Do you have a preference? Do you think RNG works well for a game? Because my strong opinion is yes, but everyone has their own, and I'm kind of curious.
No, I agree with you. I feel like, and I played StarCraft with a lot of friends that their opinion, they were purists. They were like, any RNG is bad. Everything should be like, if you have the control, if you make the right decision, the outcome should be determined. But for me, I like poker. I play Warhammer, and in Warhammer you can fire 30 shots, and if you roll this miraculous roll, 27 of them can be 1s, 2s, or 3s, right? And you can have this ridiculous event happen. The same as in XCOM. You can miss a 98%. A 99, of course, is possible as well, but let's not even talk about that. But like, it should feel like it's a rarity. That's the important part to me. Like, I wouldn't want to play a game where RNG is just all over the place, where it doesn't really feel like I'm doing anything smart. It doesn't really feel like I'm being rewarded for a good choice. It just feels like I'm getting lucky over and over again. I don't like that, and I think part of the reason why XCOM has clung to me over all these years and I've loved it so much is because there's times where you're like, I made the right choice. It went the way I thought it should. That felt great. Then there's going to be other times where it's like, holy shit, I made a mistake. I'm in trouble. I'm going to take this risk. And that risk, you know, there's the disheartening, like, oh God, it didn't go according to plan. And then maybe you dig yourself out, or maybe not. Maybe the game wins that day. But
everybody dies.
Yeah, but then there's other times where it's like, oh my gosh, we hit that 23%, and I had to hit that 23% to save my person who's carrying out the other one, and then we win the mission. Like, a game that can make you feel good and like your blood pressure gets up there, your heart gets up there. Like last night I quit because it just got too stressful, and that's I like that. I think that's enjoyable. For the right reasons. I play CS:GO, I play some of these other games, and sometimes I have to stop playing because there's 7 12-year-olds that are just yelling at me over and over again. It's like, well, that's not fun.
Right.
I can only take so much of that. But in XCOM, you're just being challenged, and it's just they hit a good stride with it. Because, like I said, if it was too RNG, if it was all over the place, I don't think I would play it nearly as much as I do.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That really does.
All right, cool. You agree with me. We can be best friends now. I'm glad to hear it. No, I know what you mean though. I mean, I have one time, and I grew up. I'm about the same age as you. I'm 30, and I grew up with original XCOM as a kid, and I loved it. And when Firaxis brought it back, I was just quaking. Just, they're gonna screw this up. This is one of my favorite games of all time. You know,
we can vouch for this. We had to hear about it for
they
days.
heard about it a lot. And then, you know, it's almost like Star Citizen. Like I loved Freelancer when I was a kid, so I need Star Citizen to be good. But now I'm getting nervous, and you know, this whole thing. That's a whole different thing. But you know, with XCOM, I've hit a 1% shotgun shot once in my life, and it was like, now I have to take my pants off because this is, my life will never be better than this moment. Like, oh my God, 1%, everybody lives.
Of course, you didn't record it, did you?
Yep.
No, God no.
Exactly.
Can't record that. Twitch has terms of service. Are you kidding me? But no, it's absolutely glorious. But yeah, with StarCraft 2, I know you have a couple events coming up. I know Home Story's coming up. I assume you're looking forward to that as always. That sounds like a really cool event. I actually haven't seen that one before.
Well, you should definitely check it out. It's a very different vibe. It's much more casual and funny, and there's drinks being served the whole time, and everyone's, you know, it's more of a party, but there's also a serious StarCraft 2 event going on at the same time, which is kind of a funny mix. Well,
that's kind of what was interesting to me, because I saw that it was coming up, and I'd never heard of it, like I said, and the idea of it being kind of in this bar-like atmosphere is, hey, that's a pretty interesting idea. I'll definitely have to check it out.
Yeah.
When is that one coming up?
I want to say it's like November 15th or so, somewhere in there.
Okay.
It's not terribly far away.
Little promo. But speaking of another event that's coming up tomorrow, you've got Shoutcast Kings coming. How do you feel your chances are there?
Oh, no, I'm not playing. I'm commentating.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were... my mistake. I thought you were in it.
Terrible, Varyar. Get off the show right now.
You know, I did all this prep work, and I screwed that up. I've got, like, all these tabs open, and... You know what? I resign. I'm done.
No worries.
I'm out. Now, with Shoutcast Kings, now, is that going to be on your channel?
No, it's going to be on Total Biscuits.
It's going to be on TB's. Okay. Outstanding.
Okay.
And when's that going tomorrow?
5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 a.m. Eastern.
And all day?
No, I mean, it'll be long. I want to say like 6 or 7 hours, but it's mostly Koreans playing, so it's a friendly time for them.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
They own us in StarCraft, for the most part.
They do.
Very, very competitive atmosphere. One thing with StarCraft, I have tried to get into StarCraft as a strategy guy. I love the first one. I like the second one. It's just, they're so much faster than me. They're so fast.
It's definitely an interesting game. Like it's
It
one of
really
those games
is.
where a lot of people like to watch it or understand the culture or have been around it, but don't necessarily play it themselves. And it's because it's a very intimidating game on a lot of levels, and its barrier to entry is really high. Like it's not an enjoyable game to suck at. So
Yeah,
the campaign's okay enough, but it's not. Everyone's going to play other campaigns. RTS campaigns are definitely a thing of the past. Like Warcraft 2 is pretty cool. Command and Conquer Gold and stuff like that had some okay moments, but for the most part, you spend a couple days on that and then you move on. You don't keep coming back to it.
Right.
But if you're not very good and you don't want to put in the time or have the interest, and a lot of people don't want to put in the time, which is fine. That's not a judgment against them. Like
right.
It's
There's other
just not a good
priorities.
game to log in and get your ass handed to you a couple times and be like, all right, well, I'll be back tomorrow. Not,
No.
So when do you want my lunch money? Because
yeah.
I'll see you guys tomorrow at 1. Yeah, no, definitely agree with you there. I mean, I've watched, a number of those high-level players, and they're just, again, I like strategy. I get strategy, but I cannot go that quickly. It just takes me out of it. That's one of the things I like about, games like XCOM or, I don't know if you've played Wargame Red Dragon.
Nope.
Very fun RTS.
Oh, we need to play that again.
I know, it's a great game. It's a smaller game, but in terms of its exposure, obviously, but it's an RTS basically set in like the Korean War, and it's
Future Korean War.
Future Korean War. I'm sorry, Korean War 2, Electric Boogaloo. But the game itself is very, very detailed. One of the things that they did with it was you can basically build your army out of a deck. You build a deck. There's not really any bases or anything. It focuses entirely on the combat. There's no resource gathering. You get points to bring in units from your deck by controlling territory or taking objectives. And then you can bring in, you can call in airstrikes. You can use it to bring in an artillery unit, tanks, whatever, what have you. But one of the things one of the things they've done with it is the detail on the military equipment is precise. I mean, it's perfect. Like, that was their whole goal with the game, but it's slower than a StarCraft 2 game. A StarCraft 2 game, again, guys are flipping around the screen constantly. You can hear the keys being hit. They're moving, giving commands, doing all that. With War Game, it's just that little bit slower so you can think about your moves. And I'm getting older. I need that. I cannot compete, as you said, with the 12-year-old screaming about my mom while I'm trying to order my army around. So,
yeah, nice.
Now, with your, as you kind of mentioned, as you've gotten older, things have changed a little for you. Has your taste in gaming changed? I mean, because you started out, with EG quite a while ago, and then you got into StarCraft 2, and you're into Warhammer 40K, and you're all into all this, sci-fi, geekdom, awesomeness. Have your taste in games changed? Because one of the things that we kind of discuss, both on and off air, is as we're getting older, I play lots less multiplayer than I used to. I like to challenge myself. I like to challenge the computer, but I swear to God, I think this is what happens with, like, people that are super into sports and then they realize golf is better because they want to challenge themselves and not someone else, play against their scorecard. Do you feel the same way, or are you still kind of, I don't know, are your tastes maturing, for lack of a better word?
I don't think so. For me personally, like, I always come from like way back in the day, Nintendo 64 and stuff like that. I played Mario Kart, but I did it because I liked to play against my friends in battle mode. I played GoldenEye, but I did it because I like to play the multiplayer. The single player is great too. And then any fighting games I played was against friends. It wasn't just doing the campaign over and over again. So for me, the social aspect of gaming has always been ingrained in what I really enjoy. So StarCraft, of course, has continued to feed my competitive, and it's the best RTS, so I just keep coming back for more.
Sure.
But then a lot of my gaming outside of that is Counter-Strike or XCOM, and it's streaming it, it's talking to people, it's playing. So a lot of my interests have stayed the same. Long story short, I will say that over time, because of how much exposure I've had to StarCraft, I went back and played Red Alert 3 and stuff, and some of these other RTSs. I have no patience. Dawn of War 3 is coming out soon, so I was really excited. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play Dawn of War Soulstorm. Like, it'll be really cool to go back. It's so meat grindery and it's so slow. They do a lot of things really cool, but because it's just steps back from StarCraft, I have zero patience for it. I spent like an hour, and then I was like, it made my skin crawl. It really upset me. It's not a bad game. I'm not judging people that like it. It's just that for me, because I'm so acclimated to fast-paced, really top-notch RTSs in particular, namely StarCraft, I can't do anything else. So that would be where my taste has changed.
Your muscle memory is built for pro gaming, not the more casual, if you will.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. So I've kind of been monopolizing the questions, I guess.
Oh, you're fine.
You guys can talk now.
Did you get everything out of your system? Are you sure?
I got some of it. I'm sure I'll have more.
Are you sure you don't want to go get a tattoo now? You know, saying your guys would be FFs?
I mean, I've got room on this arm. I could. But no, that'd be weird. Not really that weird for me. I'm kind of weird myself. But anyways, I figured I'd give you guys a turn.
Fair enough, since you're the host of the show.
Oh,
Feel free to take the
co-host.
lead.
I mean, you're there too. It's all good.
Yeah, but
It's all good.
anyway, ladies
No,
first.
I just keep going more back to the whole. So you were talking a minute ago about just the community aspect of gaming and the social aspect of gaming, and that's one of the things that you do outside of your streams, and one of the things that you were talking about before about possibly doing more of, is the live events. And you've had the opportunity, just in your role with EG so far, you've gone all over the world for live events for either playing or commentating or doing Q&As or what have you. What's been your most favorite experience, of those trips so far?
Yeah, that gets asked quite a bit. It's just amazing that gaming has brought me around to those places. But I all these years, I still really don't have a solid answer as to this is the singular place that I stands head and shoulders above the rest. Like, there's just different reasons to like the different places. Korea is an amazing place to go to. But back when I went there, I had like $20 in my bank account and was living by the seat of my pants. So that was fun. But now, as like a 31-year-old man, it makes me terrified to even think about, like, how the hell does anyone live that way?
Yeah.
And then other things like going to Germany and being around friends that I've been working with in the industry for 10 plus years, and just kind of realizing that I've got those lifelong friends, and we've, kind of come so far, and going out and having a beer and walking around Berlin and stuff, and just being like, StarCraft brought me here. Like, that's it. So there's just been things like that, but I don't have any singular story where I was like, and then I rode on the back of a blue whale or something like that. Like, it's just, it's all been pretty great for different reasons, but it's evolving always.
All right. If that's the case, what's your favorite place to eat then?
Ooh. Gosh, I'll tell you this. I'm a proud American, and I really do think we have one of the best countries in the world. But one of the funniest things that stood out to me is when you go to Sweden, their standards for food, and this is from fast food to everything else, is so incredibly different from American, and you don't realize how weird it is until you go to some place like that, where the preservatives, the chemicals, the low standards that we actually have aren't that stark and clear to you until you're at a place where it's illegal to serve food at that quality. So Sweden has extremely high quality, good food, especially by American standards. Cool. We're not talking like, a $50 plate of just like, this is Michelin 3-star amazing food. It's just their standard food is cooked at a higher level of
standard
ingredients and standards than ours. So I would say Sweden's one of the places, and it's just kind of funny how that stood out. But Korean barbecue, if you ever get the chance, you don't even have to be in Korea, obviously, but get some authentic, as much as you can, Korean barbecue. And I mean, meat and rice, you can't really go wrong, but that's some of the best.
True.
Yeah, that is true. There's a kind of a hole in the wall place in my town. That serves Korean barbecue. And I always go there because it's really good. I don't know how authentic it is, but it's one of the better places to eat Korean barbecue.
What I loved about when I was living in San Diego, there was everything. I mean,
San Diego's good food, yeah.
Everything. You go down to the gas lamp and just the restaurant district down there and just find any type of food, and almost, now obviously some of it's not authentic, but a lot of it is. A lot of it's those hole in the wall, not the chains and everything, and you can run into some interesting people there too. That's where Chuck Liddell got me to pay for a round of drinks, bastard.
Wow.
No, it was kind of a fun story, actually. I was in the Marines, and me and my friends went out and got, as Marines will, extremely drunk, and we're having an extremely fun time at a place called Junior Seau's. down there, and who would walk by with Chuck Liddell. Now, I mean, this was back when, this was 12 years ago. He was huge. Everyone knew about the Iceman, and it was this big thing. And we were like, oh my God, talk to him. You talk to him. I can't talk to him. He's, it's like teenage girls meeting Justin Bieber. You just can't do it. And he was a super cool guy about it. We walked up, said, hey, big fans, blah, blah, blah. Met him, took pictures and the whole thing. He's like, and we're like, hey, let me buy you a drink, whatever you want. And he was like, oh, really? That's fantastic of you. Thanks. And he looks over to the waitress and goes, yeah, these guys said they'd stake me a round of drinks. Can I get 16 Patron Silvers for me and my friends? And he just walked away, and we have this $200 bar tab. We're like, fuck it, worth it. Chuck Liddell picture. That's a $200 picture. It was, it's a fun story to tell, so it was worth it. But it was very, very entertaining. Yeah, weird time. But yeah. That was cool. But that was one of the great things that I loved about living in San Diego was just stuff like that all over the place. I mean, Cleveland's okay, don't get me wrong. But San Diego was definitely on a slightly different playing field, shall we say?
Hey. Just so you know, V, before we went on air, I was checking the weather forecast for next week, where we're going to have 83-degree weather on Monday and Tuesday, and snow next Saturday and Sunday. So, yeah. I mean, Cleveland is a magical place where absolutely anything can happen. So
all I know is in San Diego, it was 75 and sunny every day of the year except for 10 when it rained. All right? Why did I move back here?
Because magic.
Whatever.
Magic.
But yeah, so. I love good food, though. Yeah, that was a weird digression.
It kind of was.
Yeah.
But it brings up some interesting side topics, though. So, Varyar's talking about his fanboy moments with Chuck Liddell. Have you ever had, like, interesting fan moments with game fans as you're going about doing your community activities?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't think I'll always have the level of notoriety and fame that I do, which, not super amazing, but there's some, and I'm always just, I try to take time to just appreciate and think it's cool and fun when someone's like, hey, I know who you are, can I get a picture, and that kind of thing, because it's not going to be forever, and my friends seem more impressed and excited about it than I usually am, but it's been funny. It's just times where, like, we'll be having dinner and someone will come up and be really excited to meet me and stuff like that, and it's still shocking to my friends, so for them, they're like, oh my God. I'm like, all right, guys, let's just move on. It's nice.
Yeah. Very cool.
Huh?
Very cool. I mean, that seems like a very healthy way to go about it, because, you look at celebrities of all stripes and of all levels, and I mean, I'm not talking like necessarily all actresses and actors, but I mean every level. I mean, guys that get famous for their 8 days, and it can go
straight to their heads.
Blow my mind. Yeah.
Podcasters that get super famous in specific Iowa Walmarts because somebody was wearing his T-shirt.
Weird. It's weird, the spectrum, I guess, that you get. Just the people that kind of deal with it rationally, and the people who all of a sudden go full out crazy one way or the other with it. Interesting to think about. But anyways, so you were thinking, you were mentioning earlier, Jeff, that you were thinking next year you're going to have to kind of transition more into a getting more exposure. Do you have any other plans for that, or anything that you're working on right now that you think is kind of going to be the move? Because StarCraft 2, like you said, is kind of slowly fading out, just as games will. I mean, that's one of the interesting things about this industry, is every year it's something new.
I'm talking, I might transition over to Twitch. We'll see.
Okay.
Something in gaming. I'm also speaking with a couple different companies. One that wants to possibly get into agency for pro gamers. Another one is Shopify, which is really random and really funny, but they think I could possibly help grow an online community of third-party programmers. Why not? We'll take a look at that.
All right. Yeah, cool.
And then the full-time streaming thing. It's a little bit harder of a lifestyle. Like if you go away for any amount of time, it really actually affects your business. And,
Yeah.
my streams obviously large enough and healthy, and it's good, but it would be very different. It's it's every day you're on camera talking to people, which is exhausting, and that kind of doesn't leave you as much energy and presence there for people like your family and friends. So I'm gonna try to find something that makes me happy and utilizes my skills, and as long as I can do that, then I'm doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
And it has to pay a lot of money because I live in San Francisco, so that's the plan for now.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. Oh, speaking of the future, I just out of curiosity, what do you kind of see as the future of art, real-time strategy games going? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think there'll always be some interest in it, but I think the kind of popular belief is that some company needs to find some magical middle ground that has like a competitive game, but also fun and engaging for the masses, so that it'll sell a bajillion copies, like League of Legends and the other games, and keep people subscribed forever. I don't really see that ever happening. I think what brings people to the RTS genre is it being challenging, and a war game, like, obviously. So trying to follow the free-to-play model or the MOBA model, I think, bastardizes and ruins what actually brings people to that genre. But I also think that genre is just inherently going to be a smaller one than others. So I think when StarCraft 3 comes out years down the road, it'll be another pretty big game, one of the top 5. But I don't think it'll be ever what it was in 2010, because that was a perfect storm with Twitch. It wasn't that StarCraft 2 necessarily was the ultimate game ever made. It's just that it was the best esports game at the time, when the best streaming platform at the time was kind of blowing up. So I'm always going to be happy as long as there's some RTS that's at the top, and it's probably StarCraft.
Right.
But I've accepted that, I don't think anyone should have the expectation that it's going to be the top game ever again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily disagree. I think one of the other things, I mean, when you look at the games that blow up and everything, and I mean, obviously League of Legends, as you mentioned, is always one of the top ones, but I agree with you that I don't think you can bastardize it. I don't think you can mix it in, because what makes RTSs is, as you said, the challenge. But one of the things that I love about RTSs is, in general, the community. Not, obviously, not to bash an entire group of people, but I'm gonna. The League of Legends community in general is a massive steaming pile of dog shit. I mean, now, League of Legends players as individuals can be fantastic people, and there are a lot of really good ones out there. But it's one of those games, and I don't know what makes it that way. But it's, as a new player, you get into it, and if you're in, and this is me being salty because, I've done it and a bunch of people have done it, and you go into that first game and get good, and it just turns into this massive insult fest because you have no idea what you're doing. And I wonder, because you look at RTSs, and that's so rarely the case. In RTSs, I go into games, and even multiplayer games, even competitive games, and it's advice and helpfulness, and I think it's honestly what it is that the RTS community tends to be just that little bit older. I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah, that's part of it. The other part too is team games versus individual games.
Yeah,
that's true.
No matter what you do, if you're with a group of people, there's just a higher chance that someone in there is toxic or having a bad time. But then also, gamers generally tend to be people that are playing and spending a lot of time with something as a form of escapism as well. So a lot of that means that when they're playing with other people, the frustrations or things that they might be escaping from get lived out through their gaming experience. I play CSGO quite a bit. I've put thousands of hours into that game. I really enjoy it. I've always played Counter-Strike since back when it was 1.6. And it's a really fun game, but you'll have that guy in there that just seems to be having a bad day, and they're just going to be really mean. And even though it's sticks and stones, it's still just like a crummy thing to be around.
Yeah.
But I don't disagree with you either. I do think RTS players tend to be an older audience.
Right.
The game's been around a very long time, but it's also an individual game. It's very cerebral. There is toxicity, of course, like in any other game.
Oh yeah,
but their options to reach out and hurt you are a lot more limited too. Like if they're spending all their time yelling at you, every game, StarCraft included, has a mute button, and you're not actually on their team, so they can be as mad as they want. You're still trying to beat them, so it's just not nearly as good of a vehicle for that.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, there are plenty of good League of Legends guys. When I tried to get into it as a game, I was never going to go full competitive because MOBAs don't interest me a ton. There were a couple people that did reach out and they were very helpful, explain the game to me. When we were getting into Smite, we ran into the same thing. You get some people that are just utterly toxic. But as you said, with RTSs, their options for that are more limited. But I do think it's interesting when you look at games. I do think Dead by Daylight, had its very, very big blow up, massive, holy shit, this is the next great thing. And they were a small indie studio. They weren't expecting this at all. And it became this massive thing, but the community was so ridiculous. And now it's balancing out a lot. But you do get that element. And I think, honestly, they can sink some of these games because people just bail. And, Jeff, earlier when we were talking about, the barriers to entry of a game like StarCraft, it's the same thing, just it's not losing. But to your point, how often do I want to go play something where I'm taking verbal abuse? And yeah, I mean, I've been playing Counter-Strike a long time. I played it as a kid, 1.5, 1.6. I still play CSGO occasionally as kind of a wind-down game. And yeah, you get that toxic guy, but again, it just seems like the community's a little older. And kind of get that there are consequences to things. So, I don't know.
Well, that's definitely a part of it. I mean, if you play Call of Duty, it's a very different experience than CSGO because that's a younger audience. League of Legends has its fair mix. Like, it's the biggest, one of the most played games on planet Earth, so you're going to get a lot. Yeah. But it's a lot of young people. And young people tend to handle things differently than older people and have a different idea of what's a good time, too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sorry, Jen, I derailed us again.
No, you didn't. You're fine. Everything's been on topic. We're good.
Well, the thing about younger people and older people, I think, actually, Varyar, we've been talking about this on our streams. Like, a lot of our streams, people are starting to we have an older audience for RCM streams, and a lot of our games we play have consequences. Long-term consequences, like a lot of the strategy games we are playing nowadays, versus like CSGO. It's like, if I take a wrong turn and I get shot, I'm dead. That's over. That's the only consequences. Versus XCOM, if I make a bad move, I lose this guy. Now my other guys are more likely to die. I'm more likely to fail the mission.
That's true.
I don't have those people later. I might not have them to actually do this critical mission.
That's a very good point. And give you a little background, Jeff. The conversation we were having is, we obviously talk a lot with the people that hang out with us and are part of our group and everything. And, we're kind of slowly building our own community. And one of the things we've noticed is that we get a lot of couples, we get a lot of older people. And one of the reasons is because we're all older too. We're not 18 or 19 years old. Pretty much everyone at RCM is 30s, low 30s, mid 30s, right in there. We do this for fun, hang out, talk, group of friends and everything. And that tends to be the type of people we attract. And the games we've been playing lately, Darkest Dungeon, XCOM 2, to a lesser extent when D was playing Skyrim, but things like that tend to appeal to that type of crowd. And we thought it was partly because there were those kind of long-reaching consequences. There was the continuity, not just the split-second
consequences.
Actually, that leads me to a question. I'm kind of curious. With your audience, do you see that split ever, or do you think it's more about the personality? Do you think some of it's about the game? Curious.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a huge... my channel is very much so strongly from StarCraft, but also very strategy-oriented. So when I play CSGO, I very much so also treat it like a wind-down game. I stream it every once in a while, but when I do, my viewership is 1/3, 1/4, 1/5 as much as usual.
Right.
They're not people like actively hating it. It's just it's not their bag.
Right.
But when I play XCOM, it's maybe 100 less people than normal, but very much so good enough for me.
Right.
And they're really excited about it. When I play Total War Warhammer, same thing. Civ, I just played Civ 5, Civ 6 coming out, same kind of thing. So
looking forward to that.
Definitely the StarCraft people who I built my viewership base and fan base off of are strategy people, not FPS people and stuff like that. I dabble in all kinds of different games, but when I stream the different games, I have different expectation for what that viewership's going to be like and stuff.
All right.
Sorry, one sec here.
As he's looking up more questions.
Nope.
No, you forgot to switch it off of Varyar's XCOM game for the.
I
what
did.
we're-
I could have swore I did not. That's my
You're
fault.
good. You're good.
See how
That's
you
all right.
are, killer.
No, I failed. I failed you again, sir. I must commit seppuku.
I'd be okay with it.
You would be, just to get
Yeah.
you numbers.
As
It's all about
as
numbers for you.
it's my shoot. Ugh. Anyway,
Well, it's kinda his
anytime Killer
station.
makes any slight mistake, since he is our producer and video editor, we have to give him hell for it. But I've been watching chat for a while, so we have this interesting phenomenon where when chat really likes a guest and is engaged in the interview, you start seeing comments about what's going to be the next big RCM obsession game.
Is it Hello
So-
Kitty Armored Warfare?
I would play the hell out of Hello Kitty Armored Warfare. But when we had Chris Rager on over the summer, he did the voice of Mr. Torg for Borderlands. He did plays the voice of Mr. Satan for the Dragon Ball Z franchise, so he had a really engaging interview, and right afterwards, like, everyone just blew up with, I want to play Borderlands 2 again. You want to play Borderlands 2? Yeah, we'll do that. So now they're getting on the StarCraft 2 kick,
Nice.
which I think is a good thing. That means that they're enjoying the interview.
Good. As long as they enjoy it. And,
That's why we're here,
absolutely.
to entertain them.
Oh, that's why you're here. I'm here to talk to Jeff. So, I mean, realistically. It's not that the internet people don't matter. I love the internet people. But, yeah.
booting
Again.
poor Bio out of his seat for the
Oh, yeah.
night. It's all good.
Absolutely. You can have it back next week.
I hope he
But-
can have it back next week.
There's that.
That whole, like, running freaking servers and things and babysitting technology going haywire. It's not fun. Not a fun
I
job.
wanted to be an IT professional. That's why I'm in sporting goods. I have normal hours.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, RCM StarCraft's tourney, make it so #1. That's not going to happen. I'm terrible. Are you kidding me?
No.
Get Jeff to come just destroy us all. It'd be fun.
Actually,
Like-
that would be the tournament.
Yeah,
Hey, how many people it takes to beat Jeff?
I call this the obliterate maneuver, and all of you lose. Oh my god.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Although speaking of regular jobs and everything, Jeff, did you ever have you've had a regular job, right? Besides all the
In
gaming?
college, yeah.
What'd
Like
you
a
do?
real person job?
Real
I
person.
worked at a pizza place for a while. I worked at Jamba Juice, and I worked at GameStop.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, that's a real job, but yeah. I'm gonna
Real
I'm gonna
job
lean
for a
towards...
college student.
Yeah.
No.
pretty
I
much.
mean, I was actually judging him, not you, Jeff. I was like,
Oh,
I'm
really?
pretty sure what he does now counts as a real job, considering the
Oh,
hours put in.
okay.
Way to be
It-
insulting, Killer. Way to be a dick to our guest.
Jeez, it wasn't a
Jesus.
real job until like 10 years ago. Until he
I'm-
created it.
I think I'm embarrassing Jen now. I'm okay with it. But no, with actually, what did you study in college?
English.
Really?
Hmm.
And did you have an idea with that? I mean, obviously, when you went to college, well, I don't know, maybe. When you went to college,
Yeah,
did you
I
think I'm
went to
going to get
college
into
to
gaming
become
or?
a teacher. No, I went to go to
Oh.
become a teacher.
Okay.
Okay, very cool. A couple teachers in my family. So, I guess I have to ask then, with the transition, obviously, in college you were enjoying StarCraft and everything, and just kind of got really good at it, obviously, and just said, fuck it, I'm going to do this as my job, because hell yeah, gaming, or...
No, everything's been natural in my life. Like, went to college because I wanted to become a teacher, and
Sure.
I did play a lot of StarCraft, but after I won the national championship in 2007, I was offered to play it professionally, and I wasn't quitting anything or stopping anything to do that, so I gave it
Right.
a run. They kept
Mhm.
paying me, and I kept doing more, and
That's very cool.
eventually they wanted to pay me to commentate and host. I said sure. Like, I've never set out to do anything except for the normal stuff. Like, I went to college to get a degree so that I could become a teacher, but I
Very
haven't, like,
interesting.
there's no like crossroads story or like decision time. It was just all natural.
Very cool. I guess I hadn't really thought of that. I'd always assumed that you would have I guess I didn't really. I don't know if I assumed anything, but I just kind of assumed that you had gotten into StarCraft to get into StarCraft. That's kind of a neat story.
You have to remember, V, that he's our age, so I mean that didn't
I always
happen
forget
back
that.
then.
Yeah, I always forget about that.
I mean, you see,
Not real good with time.
I have to have this conversation with the college kids all the time that, you know, if you want something, work for it, but there's not going to be a magical fairy that just like twinkles by and you can quit everything that you're doing and just play games. You have to actually, you know, work at it, be really good at it, but have your backup plan.
Makes sense.
So blowing off your midterms this week to go and play, you know, XCOM or whatever because your favorite streamers are, probably not going to be in your best interest.
Wait, are you sure?
So
No, that makes sense. I always forget the time thing because I'm, you know, today you can do that. Today, pro gamer is a career. And which is very, very cool. I love the way the industry's evolved. I love the way that the culture's evolved and that it's accepting of that. I mean, you hear about League of Legends tournaments selling out Madison Square Gardens, you know, and things like that. And that's very insane. But again, that was relatively new at the time. So I don't think about that. I can't believe it's been that long. God, I'm getting old.
You are old.
Oh, back in my day. I'm going to have to start yelling at people about their rock and roll music at some point. But yeah. All right. Well, I'm good then.
Are you?
I am. Feeling pretty good. Do you have a magical fairy? I don't think so. Sorry, chat distracts me. I gotta stop looking at it.
Oh, well, it's Reaper. I mean,
yeah.
He apologizes for being late, which, you know, happens.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Happens.
So, Jeff, with your love of strategy games, have you played Darkest Dungeon?
Yeah, I streamed that a bunch as well.
I hadn't seen that. What'd you think?
I really enjoy it. I like it a lot.
Okay. In terms of the differences between, I mean, turn-based versus real-time strategy, obviously you play tabletop games and everything, so turn-based you're fine with. Do you, real-time strategy being your first love, with turn-based games, do you think about them differently, or is it still kind of the same risk-reward process? How do you analyze that?
I think it just kind of falls into the category of I enjoy multiple different things.
Okay.
They bring different things to the table. StarCraft and real-time strategy is speed and micro, so you feel like you're executing something very good and very awesome as opposed to thinking your way through something. I mean, there's obviously elements of that as well, but turn-based, I don't know, I never played multiplayer turn-based, so maybe that would be where I would have different opinions. But single-player, as long as the gameplay is cool, the aesthetic's fun, you know, and Darkest Dungeon is not sci-fi, but it's just cool monsters, cool art style. I enjoy it.
Awesome. Yeah, we've got one of our guys playing Darkest Dungeon right now on a blind run, and then we've done it a couple times. I've played it a little bit, and just a very fun. Again, it's one of those games where it's savage with mistakes, and I just love that. You know, if you screw up, you are going to pay. And I really think that makes for compelling gameplay. I think it makes for compelling headcanon stories. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm crazy or not, but probably am. But, you know, in my head, I make up stories for all my XCOM characters and Darkest Dungeon characters and things like that. You know, they kind of have their own little backstories in my brain. And it's, you know, having one of them die really reinforces that. Think about this, you know, pay attention, and reinforces the consequences mechanic that we were talking about earlier. So, all right. Well, I'm done with my gameplay questions now, Jen. I've answered them all, and I very much appreciate Jeff's patience in answering all my questions, because I know I kind of ramble all over the place, but so thank you to him. But I shall be done now.
No, you won't.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
But I'll try. I promise to give it a best effort.
All right, I'm going to ask something that has nothing to do with gaming, though. So, as everyone's ears
Magic hat
perk up
time?
a little bit. So,
Okay.
you mentioned being an English major in college, which to me immediately tells me that you read. What are you reading now?
You know, my wife actually gives me a hard time about this because I've been pretty boring. The last couple years, I read nothing but Warhammer books. So,
That's not
all
Not
Warhammer.
a bad thing.
Okay.
Dan Abnett's very good. If you know the universe at all, you'll especially enjoy it. But if you don't, Eisenhorn, Omnibus, and Ravner are two of the best collections of books you can read in sci-fi.
All right.
Alright.
Well, I totally lied because now I have another question. But I'm a huge reader. Read a ton of sci-fi, read a ton of fantasy. Very interested in the Warhammer 40k universe in terms of knowing it, but I've never read any of the books. Where should I start? Because there are a crap ton of them.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what I just said. But for the most part, like, knowing the universe, of course, is, like, when someone says a bolter gun or something like that, I don't think someone that knows nothing about it will appreciate what that means. So I think if you're really interested, you should read those books or books like it, but then have the Lexicanum open on your desktop or nearby.
Sure.
It is the Wikipedia of Warhammer 40k, so there's going to be a lot of terminology, and if you just look it up right there. The nice thing about Warhammer is it's been around for 30 years, so there's no lack of information out there.
I just, every time I've kind of looked at the list and gone, you know what, I'm finally going to read these, I always tell myself I have to go chronological, but everyone I talk to, including yourself now, doesn't seem to be the case.
No, there's different storylines. They're going to be advancing the story for the first time in a very long time coming forward here. But there's Horus Heresy, which is basically how everything started, and that takes place in the year 30,000. And then, of course, 40k is what's most commonly referenced, and that's just the contemporary stuff. And there are mostly all stories that take place within that universe, as opposed to like there's one story arc that's happening. You're not going to come across a character that, if you don't know all this backstory, you're not going to know anything about, because chances are they're made up, because the main story is controlled by Games Workshop, and they protect it like their golden goose, because that's how they make all their money. But there is going to be some forwarding of that, so it'll be very interesting soon.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I've been back through the Dresden Files, which fantastic series. I can't stop reading them. They're so good.
They're great.
And they are.
Oh, I can't wait for Peace Talks.
You're a Dresden person?
Jim Butcher, yeah, I like his Dresden Files. I mean, to be honest, and maybe this is going to hurt your feelings, but they're like very trashy male romance novels. Like, every woman's overly aggressive and extremely attracted to him. But the lore is very good. The action's very good. It's just a very funny formulaic, like, wow, he's so beat up, chances are really against him now. And then,
pretty much,
lo and behold, not only does he get the lady, but he saves the world on top of it every single time. So it's like, it's a fun read. My wife and I, we love them. We read them all. We've read them several times. But I would not hold this to someone and say, like, this is modern literature's
it's not a
moment.
masterpiece. No, it's just really good reading.
But they fangirl out about it all the time in our TeamSpeak channel.
They're fun, but they're just so
very
funny. Like, it's like if you read a Twilight, it's the female version, and then you read a male, it's like the woman, perfect glistening top of her breasts, just peeking inside of her sweater, and she'll walk up to him, and like the first thing she says, like, "Hey there, how are you doing tonight?" It's like it's like this weird sex fantasy. And by the way, Jim Butcher looks a lot like Harry Dresden. That's not a mistake either. And he's a martial arts, nut and stuff. It's just funny how he basically wrote himself in as the all-powerful, super sexy wizard that everyone wants to be or be with, but hey, like I said, it's really fun.
It sells books, and it's kind of like that's kind of like the Monster Hunter series with Larry Correia.
Oh yeah,
he wrote it. I mean, come on, he wrote himself in. He is Owen Pitt, Yeah. I mean, but those books, like you said, though, are super fun. I mean, it's the same thing with John Ringo. I love John Ringo's books. They are war porn. That's what they are.
Yep.
And I can absolutely read war porn all day.
Although I do have to take one exception, like he's not with Jim Butcher. He's never always perfect. Because what was it Winter Night? He's opening up in the door. He's checking out, using his magic vision. Like, oh, there's a trap here. An alarm system. I better not screw it up. It's a good thing. I am the tool to take care of this.
Oh, and insults.
He's like, son of a bitch. One day I will be cool.
Yeah.
He puts enough awkwardness to make you relate to him. He's not always super cool.
But I think that's the point, though.
Yeah.
That's the point. He's the relatable, plucky, but, that's how he writes the whole neuroses, the whole self-consciousness. But to Jeff's point, he always ends up as all-powerful.
He does. You're right.
I shall manipulate gravity and smash 8 million vampires. Huzzah! So, but yeah. But no, I can read those books all day.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
But
and
yeah.
we have a question from chat too, and I think this is kind of an interesting
Sure.
one. So, Forgotten Reaper asks, can someone ask what his wife thinks of his career? I notice a lot of spouses of streamers and gamers tend to be gamers themselves, so I'm curious.
I'm actually extremely fortunate. My wife works at Twitch as a programming manager. Before that, she worked for Evil Geniuses as well as kind of a player manager / content producer.
Mhm.
But all of that is to say that she's in the same field, but it's more than that. She's actually like just as a person tremendously supportive. I think the best example is I love Warhammer. I have a lot of Warhammer models. They're very expensive, so that's all cool. But I actually also have a Warlord Titan, which is when it was painted, assembled, and bought, it's a $5,000 or $6,000 model. She never batted an eye.
Shit.
It's not because we have $1 million. We don't. It's because she knows how much I love it. She knows how important it is to me. How much joy it brings me, and because those things are so true, she doesn't for even 1 second think. And she trusts me. I think that's another important part too. Like it's cool to have your passions, but if you're running yourself into the ground, then that's harmful and bad, not good. But there has never been a time where she also came in when I was a pro gamer, so she has the cool attitude, spirit, outlook, that kind of thing, but also she was around when I was training 10-12 hours a day, and that was my job, and that was in my blood, and it wasn't like something anyone could contest. If you loved me, you loved that I did that. So she's been around that.
No, that makes sense. I mean, there's probably spouses who love cars and they spend thousands upon thousands of dollars just on one car. It's the same thing. It's the passion. I mean, but you're being responsible about it. You're not putting a mortgage on the house.
Right. Yeah.
Very cool.
Aw. Reaper, I didn't know you had a soft spot like that. That's so sweet.
He likes cute love stories.
All right.
Well,
go
Jeff,
ahead.
do you have any questions for us?
No. I mean, it's been awesome hanging out with you guys. If I were to ask you questions about you guys, it would take 25 hours. I had no idea who you were, and now I do. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Little by little.
Thank you very much. It was very cool to have you on. Greatly appreciate you taking an hour out of your, as you mentioned, very busy schedule to hang out and let me ask you a bunch of questions and, let them talk to you too.
No, it's my pleasure, guys. You guys have an awesome thing going on here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, plebeians, stay tuned. Baron will be up next for his late night game stream where we'll play some more Darkest Dungeon. And I would be remiss in my duties if I didn't mention that Varyar did a fantastic job last night for our special charity stream in support of Operation Supply Drop, who is doing their all this month. They're doing a very special charity drive for their Vettober fundraising campaign. You can see the link right down below on our info page right here on Twitch. You can also find the information on our home site at rivalcastmedia.com. But again, raises money for a great charity. Operation Supply Drop is a 501k charity organization that supports by putting together care packages and video game packages to send to our active and veteran troops all over the world, not just American troops, but all of our allies as well. Does a fantastic job. They do a number of live events throughout the year as well. They go to the different conventions. They've sent veterans and troops to the different conventions to meet people like Jeff, go play games with their favorite streamers. So it's a fantastic cause. If you can toss in a few bucks, again, the link is below on our Twitch page down there. You can catch us on the social media and all the other wonderful things throughout the week as well. But stay tuned for Baron, and thank you again, Jeff. From all of us here at RivalCast Media, cheers.